Hello, my name is Elder Price, and I would like to share with you the most amazing book. Hello, my name is Elder Grant. It's a book about America a long, long time ago. It has so many awesome parts.
You simply won't believe how much this book can change your life.
Hello, my name is Elder Green. I would like to share with you this book of Jesus Christ. Hello, my name is Elder Young. Hello, did you know that Jesus lived here in the USA? You can read all about it now. Hello, in this nifty book, it's free. No, you don't have to pay.
Hello, my name is Elder Smith, and can I leave this book with you for you to just peruse?
Hello!
I'll just leave it here. It has a lot of information you can really use.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is
Jesus Christ.
You have a lovely home.
Hello.
It's an amazing book.
Bonjour.
Hola.
Ni hao.
Me llamo Elder White.
Are these your kids?
This book gives you the secret to eternal life.
Sound good?
Eternal life.
Jesus Christ.
Super fun.
Hello.
Ding dong. And if you let us in, we'll show you how it can be done.
No thanks. You sure? Oh, well.
That's fine.
Goodbye.
Have fun in hell.
Hey, now.
You simply won't believe how much this book will change his life. Will change his life. Change his life. This book will change your life.
Hello, would you like to change religions? I have a free book written by Jesus.
No, Elder Cunningham, that's not how we do it. You're making things up again. Just stick to the approved dialogue. Elders,
Hello.
My name is
Elder Cunningham.
We would like to share with you this book of Jesus Christ. Hello.
Hello. Just take this book.
It's free for you. You see, you simply won't believe how much this book will change your life. Will change his life. Change his life. So you won't burn in hell. You're gonna die someday, but if you read this book, you'll see that there's another way. Spend eternity with friends and family. We can fully guarantee you that this book will change your life. 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 The Book of Mormon. Pedofilia.
Here's the horny surface. It's hella creepy because I look like I'm 11 and in a pageant with honey boo boo.
¿Cómo le adviertes a un niño o a una niñita inocente que busa caperuza?
Hello, little girl. What's your rush? You're missing all the flowers. The sun won't set for hours. Take your time.
Mother said straight ahead, not to delay or be misled.
But slow, little girl.
Por algo fueron creados los cuentos de hadas, los lobos feroces, las abuelitas enfermas, las vírgenes palomeras que andan pariendo zombies capitados por Inmaculada Concepción. Nunca falta quien se la trae todita, pero si una historia es capaz de ayudarte a vivir mejor, será realmente tan importante si es que son puras falsedades. Así como para andar tratando de tomar a una obra literaria literalmente literal. Es un secreto a voces que esta institución está llena de gente mentirosa, ratera, depravada y que cuentan con una cantidad abismal de seguidores que son desesperantemente tercos y que primero muertos que aceptar que están mal. Así como que su fe es capaz de causar la devastación absoluta de imperios completos con cantidades astronómicas de gente inocente que es lenta y brutalmente destrozada a pedazos por las obsesiones enajenadas de unos cuantos patanes que se creen superiores a los demás. Lo bueno es que fueron separados adecuadamente la iglesia y el Estado, pero habiendo sido un mal de toda la vida, alguna razón de ser debe tener.
Nietzsche was a devastating critic of, I would say, dogmatic Christianity, Christianity as it was instantiated in institutions, I suppose.
Ya se la chupó el diablo. Toda institución requiere una oficina y esa iglesia tendría que pagar tanto por el establecimiento como por el mantenimiento. Empezamos mal. Y comienza la migración de aquellos que le vean potencial económico asegurando su deterioración moral.
Although he's a very paradoxical thinker because, for example, one of the things Nietzsche said was that he didn't believe that the scientific revolution would have ever got off the ground if it hadn't been for Christianity, and more specifically for Catholicism, because he believed that over the course of really 1,000 years, the European mind, so to speak, had to train itself to interpret everything that was known within a single coherent framework. Coherent if you accept the initial axioms.
Lo de los superpoderes como caminar en agua, convertir el agua en pisto, que se le paren los lisiados. Pero una forma en la cual es sentido el mundo en el que vivimos.
A single coherent framework. And so Nietzsche believed that Catholicization of the phenomena of life and of history produced the kind of mind that was then capable of transcending its dogmatic foundations and then concentrating on something else, which in this particular case happened to be the natural world.
Y así proceder a la revolución industrial y a la explosión tecnológica con las computadoras, el internet, la inteligencia artificial.
And so Nietzsche believed that in some sense Christianity died at its own hand. It had spent a very long period of time trying to attune people to the necessity of the truth, absent the corruption and all of that that's always part of any human endeavor. And then the truth, the spirit of the truth that was developed by Christianity turned on the roots of Christianity, and everyone woke up and said something like, or thought something like, well, how is it that we came to believe any of this?
Ya que ciertamente somos nosotros el pinólculo de la inteligencia humana y no somos unos cavernícolas como nuestros antepasados, esos de los 80s y 70s y así hasta los 0s.
So now Nietzsche, although he was a critic of Christianity and also a champion of its disciplinary capacity, because you see, the other thing that Nietzsche believed was that it was not possible to be free in some sense unless you had been a slave. And by that he meant that you don't go from childhood to full-fledged adult individuality. You go from childhood to a state of discipline, which you might think is akin to slavery, to self-imposed slavery. That would be the best scenario, where you have to discipline yourself to become something specific before you might be able to reattain the generality that you had as a child. And he believed that Christianity had played that role for Western civilization.
Probablemente gracias a la culpa perpetua y a la fomentación del sacrificio personal a través de la metáfora de Jesucristo cargando la cruz. Una característica inalienable del ser humano es que siempre sentimos que tenemos la razón, que todos lo sabemos, somos unos sabelotodos, todos. ¿Por qué habríamos de creer en algo que según nosotros mismos esté mal? ¿O cómo habríamos de saber si desconocemos algo que no conocemos? Es por eso que no podemos acordar con respecto a lo abstracto. Si el sentir fuera objetivo, y digamos que sintieras hasta 2, tú ibas a creer que este 2 es el 100% de tu capacidad para sentir, a pesar de que quizá pudieras sentir hasta 7 golos. Pero no habría manera de demostrarte que hay más allá. Es por eso que el sacrificio es la forma más fácil y eficiente de sobrellevar tus pesares, para poder madurar y convertirte en un hombre con una perspectiva objetiva de la realidad.
But in the late 1800s, he announced that God was dead. And you often hear of that as something triumphant. But for Nietzsche, it wasn't, because he was too nuanced a thinker to be that simple-minded.
Me pregunto si los ateístas se le hacían igual de pedo a sus papás con respecto a Santa. Aún así fuese Madonna, el Chapulín Colorado, Moctezuma o el Coco quien pusiera la otra mejilla, no importa. Igual si pasó, si no pasó, el mensaje tiene valor por sí mismo y lo demás está de más.
See, Nietzsche understood that, and this is something I'm going to try to make clear, is that there's a very large amount that we don't know about the structure of experience, that we don't know about reality, and we have our articulated representations of the world, and then you could think of outside of that, there are things we know absolutely nothing about, and there's a buffer between them, and those are things we sort of know something about. And We don't know them in an articulated way.
La madre, un buen de cosas que no sabemos. Subconsciente yo lo utilizo para referirme a los procesos realizados por el cerebro reptiliano y el sistema límbico con la cantidad increíble de información que perciben nuestros cerebros y para los cuales no alcanza nuestra atención consciente.
Here's an example. Sometimes you're arguing with someone close to you, and they're in a bad mood, and they're being touchy and unreasonable, and you keep the conversation up, and maybe all of a sudden they get angry, or maybe they cry, and then when they cry, they figure out what they're angry about, and it has nothing to do with you, even though you might have been what precipitated the argument, and that's an interesting phenomenon as far as I'm concerned, because it means that people can know things at one level without being able to speak what they know at another.
O como hasta jueces de Corte Suprema suelen ser más estrictos con sus sentencias el mediodía porque no saben concientizarse de cómo cambia su humor y por ende su rigidez legal para con los sentenciados, y todo nada más porque traigan hambre. A un hombre alimenta lo primero.
So in some sense, the thoughts rise up from the body, and they do that in moods, and they do that in images, and they do that in actions, and we have all sorts of ways that we understand before we understand in a fully articulated manner. And so we have this articulated space that we can all discuss, and then outside of that we have something that's more akin to a dream that we're embedded in, and it's an emotional dream that we're embedded in, and that's based at least in part on our actions. I'll describe that later.
Un sueño lúcido es cuando estás consciente de que estás soñando, lo cual te permite controlarlo, y una de las técnicas para lograrlo es preguntándote, ¿cómo es que llegaste a donde estás? Usualmente solo empiezas ahí, si no te acuerdas. Felicidades y provechito, solamente que no se te vaya a olvidar. O el sueño te va a volver a engañar haciéndote creer que es la realidad. Es como cuando se te olvida que tienes que pagar tus deudas, o que tienes novia, o que si no lo entierras antes de que se seque, cuando ni cuenta te das, de repente estás pensando en otras cosas de una forma muy conveniente.
And then outside of that is what we don't know anything about at all. And in that dream, that's where the mystics live, and that's where the artists live. And they're the mediators between the absolute unknown and the things we know for sure.
¿Qué?
And you see, what that means in some sense is what we know is established on a form of knowledge that we don't really understand, and that if those two things are out of sync, so you might say if our articulated knowledge is out of sync with our dream, then we become dissociated internally. We think things we don't act out, and we act out things we don't dream, and that produces a kind of sickness of the spirit, and that sickness of the spirit,
Si consideráramos a los sentimientos y a las emociones, percepción pasiva, introspectiva, y motivación activa, externalizar, respectivamente, como pensamientos en vez de tan solo molestias a las cuales hay que apaciguar con medicamento, pudiéramos conceptualizar mejor que quizá estemos pensando una cosa con las emociones y con la jeta otra. Así sería más fácil comprender el por qué si queremos volver con él, pero no lo queremos de vuelta. Es fácil pensar dos cosas opuestas cuando tienes dos cerebros y nosotros tenemos tres. Solo que al primitivo suele valerle unga unga.
See, its cure is something like an integrated system of belief and representation. And then people turn to things like ideologies, which I regard as parasites on an underlying religious substructure, to try to organize their thinking, and then that's a catastrophe.
La religión no se supone que sea un culto para someternos, sino más bien como un instructivo con el cual saber cómo interpretar a nuestros cuerpos, a nuestras percepciones, a nuestras ideas y cómo manejarlas, no solo internamente, sino entre nosotros, para poder obtener el mejor tipo de interacción social posible. Toda ideología fallida debería ser una opción más descartada, pero pareciera que nos da cáncer cerebral nomás de considerar el escuchar algún contemporáneo, y preferimos irnos con ideologías genocidas del pasado, a pesar de que ya hayan sido comprobadas como catastróficas, porque no vaya a ser que...
And that's what Nietzsche foresaw. You see, he knew that when we knocked the slats out of the base of Western civilization by destroying this representation, this God ideal, let's say, that we would destabilize and move back and forth violently between nihilism, let's say, and the extremes of ideology.
Nihilismo es una palabra horrible. Siéntanse libres de pensarlo como valeverismo.
He was particularly concerned about radical left ideology, and believed...
Como todo el mundo ahorita, excepto los maniáticos de izquierda.
Predicted this in the late 1800s, which is really an absolute intellectual tour de force of staggering magnitude. Predicted that in the 20th century that hundreds of millions of people would die because of the replacement of these underlying dreamlike structures with this rational but deeply incorrect representation of the world. And, you know, we've been oscillating back and forth between left and right in some sense ever since.
Germany was having trouble, what a sad, sad story. Needed a new leader to restore its former glory. Where, oh, where was he? Where could that man be? We looked around and then we found the man for you and me.
I know it's springtime for Hitler and Germany. Deutschland is happy and gay. We're marching to a faster pace. Look out, here comes the master race. Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Rhineland's a fine land once more. Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Watch out, Europe, we're going on tour. Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Look, it's springtime.
Winter for Poland and France. Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Springtime, 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 springtime.
Come on, Germans, go into your dance.
I was born in Dusseldorf, and that is why they call me Wolf.
Don't be stupid, be a smarty. Come and join the Nazi party.
I never. Talk about bad taste.
Come on, let's get out of here before they kill us.
The Führer is coming. The Führer is coming. The Führer is coming.
Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler! Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Heil Hitler!
Heil myself, heil to me. I'm the crowd who's out to change our history. Heil myself, raise your hand. There's no greater dictator in the land. Everything I do for you. If you're looking for a war, here's World War II. Heil myself, raise your beer. Every hotsy, totsy, Nazi stand and cheer. Heil myself! Heil myself! Stand and cheer. Heidi, Heidi, Hody, Heil myself!
No les sigamos el rollo. Con eso de que el comunismo es una forma de gobierno donde la gente es la que los medios de producción, bla, 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 bla. Es cuando los reyesitos no son solo los meros meros, sino también los santos sacrosantos tras que una sociedad haya perdido su fe. Y se hipocresían ellos mismos al poder fingiendo que nos representan a todos nomás por ponerles de la gente a las instituciones de siempre. Para poder controlar cómo, cuándo y dónde se va a hacer todo, porque ellos saben mejor. Dirigiendo a las empresas, dictando la educación y siendo los que controlen las porciones de comida que habrían de mantenernos con vida a todos. Comunismo es cuando el Estado se convierte en Dios. Y socialismo cuando es Jesús, pero encaminado. Pongámoslo así. Imagínate que el gobierno lo controlara todo, así que para poder comprar leche tendrías que llenar una cantidad de formularios y presentarlos en persona con tu identificación oficial vigente en la oficina de lácteos de la gente en el edificio de gobierno, donde por supuesto que no iba a haber estacionamiento, iba a estar a reventar y te iban a tratar con la punta del pie. Es la única manera de poder crear los suficientes trabajos para todos, ya que por alguna extraña razón no nos íbamos a sentir muy motivados a crear nuestras propias empresas.
Solo se escuchaban insultos a la reina y gritos como muerte a la austriaca. En esta fecha habría sido cuando la reina supuestamente diría la famosa frase: si no tienen pan para comer, que coman pasteles. Pero los historiadores aseguran que esta frase nunca la mencionó. Aún así, este rumor enfureció todavía más a las masas.
Probablemente porque el capitalismo estaría prohibido, ya que dice que las clases sociales son del diablo. Y es mejor que estemos todos igual de jodidos. No vaya a ser que alguien quiera andar de lucido sobresaliendo y produciéndolo con pasión.
And when they arrived, they demanded an audience with the king. What are those things outside the palace? They're poor people, Your Majesty. That's poor people? They say they're hungry. Hungry? Then let them eat cake. Wow. See, this is the exact BS that led to this whole mess in the first place. You're so out of touch. They're writhing around in the filth, breaking their back to barely scrape by, and they come to you demanding just the basic ability to feed themselves, and you think a slice of cake will sort them out? Well, then let them eat Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme. Wow. They're not that desperate.
You do not understand that a statist, somebody who wants government-enforced laws, regulations, rules, and brutalities to run your life, wants you thrown in jail for disagreeing with him.
Intercambias tu libertad de expresión económica, política, de todo, por servicios gratis, escuela gratis, dinero gratis, comida gratis, todo lo que te estés dispuesto a tragar, porque lo gratis no existe. Es un secreto a voces que esta institución está repleta de gente mentirosa, ratera, depravada, así como que cuenta con una cantidad abismal de seguidores desesperantemente tercos, que primero muertos que aceptar que están mal y que su fe es capaz de causar la devastación absoluta de imperios completos, con una cantidad astronómica de gente inocente que es lenta y brutalmente destrozada a pedazos por la enajenación obsesiva de unos cuantos patanes que se creen superiores a todos los demás. Lo bueno que ya fueron separados adecuadamente la iglesia y el Estado, pero habiendo sido un mal de toda la vida, alguna razón de ser debe tener.
He wants you thrown in jail for disagreeing with him. Let's say you're against the war on drugs, like any sane and moral human being is. Let's say you're against the war on drugs. And you make your case and you lay out your arguments and you talk about the non-aggression principle and self-ownership and responsibility and humanity.
El principio de no agredir se basa en que no seas tú quien comience una pelea, pero de ser atacado, tienes todo el derecho de defenderte de forma proporcional y hasta de usar fuerza mortal en caso que genuinamente temas por tu vida. De esta manera se mantendría la paz. Y la autoposesión se refiere a ser libre y soberano tú mismo en vez de estar dependiendo del Estado para que te cuide de los robachicos y te ande dando el Gerber en la boca. Ya sabemos que lo único que realmente te dan es atole con el dedo.
And your friend says, no, I still think that the war on drugs is good, and I want to support it. What he's really saying is, I want you thrown in jail for following your conscience, for doing what is right. I want men in blue costumes to come to your house, stick a gun in your face, and say, come into the windowless van with us for years.
Uno de los ejemplos en los cuales los pensamientos brotando de tu cuerpo, como emociones que cambian nuestros actos y nuestras actitudes, es como eso que sientes cuando escuchas a alguien referirse de forma ridícula a algo. Es más fácil menospreciarlo que el considerar la relación entre esa nueva perspectiva y de lo que se esté hablando. Sobre todo si su mensaje es a favor de algo de lo que estés en contra, y especialmente cuando demuestran pasión al expresarlo.
Even if you'd never touch an illegal drug. Because the war on drugs is all about funding. And if you find it objectionable that people get locked up in cages for carrying innocuous bits of vegetation, then you should be able to withdraw not just your moral, abstract, who gives a shit support, but your actual, tangible financial support to such a monstrous, monstrous attack upon humanity. So, if I'm against the war on drugs, what I want is to withdraw my funding for the war on drugs. To withdraw the money that is extracted from me at gunpoint and used to pay people to throw people in cages where they are brutalized and often raped for years. That is what it means to have a conscience, be able to act on it. To not be forced to support that which is evil.
El acentuar partes de tu mensaje apasionadamente es una herramienta para comunicar las partes importantes y el cuánto te importa. Por alguna razón la mayoría de la gente se incomoda y se excusa con la acusación de que les están gritoneando. Es muy diferente. Es igual con las groserías, que sirven para expresar la intensidad emocional del tema en mano o sobresaltar la ridiculez de la mamada en la que se esté hablando.
Let's say that you're against the war, or the wars, or wars in general. What does it mean to be anti-war? Does it mean that you can go around the streets and wave your little placards? Does it mean you can write on your blog that war is double plus oogie? No. Being against the war means not being forced to fund a war, not being forced to pay for the murder of innocent foreigners.
Y la diferencia está en la calma relativa al expresar el resto de la oración. Un sensiblero te gritará los pronombres, los adverbios y hasta en lo que te vas a morir. Una persona en control de sí misma solo te acentuará histérico las palabras clave de su mensaje.
That's what it means to be against the war. Are you against the horrors of the permanent underclass that has been created by government education and the welfare state?
Aprovecho para agradecer al Estado por su educación extremadamente bien planeada, donde nos enseña de economía, nuestros derechos civiles, ni siquiera de nuestras responsabilidades para con los procesos legales. Y por alguna total y absolutamente inocente razón, que nos enseña de historia, de insurgencias y revoluciones en la primaria, mucho antes de que sintamos la rebeldía adolescente y muchísimo más todavía de llegar a realmente comprender la importancia de lo que se nos está enseñando. No queremos andar con ocurrencias antipatrióticas.
Does your conscience say that this is monstrous and evil, and it's the most destructive thing that has ever been foisted on the poor outside of the medieval goddamn plague? What does it mean to be against these predations? Does it mean that you can wave your placards and write your blog and say to people, well, I don't really think it's that good and here are the facts behind it? No. That means nothing. That means nothing. If you're a cow in an electrified paddock and you want to spray paint on your side, I don't like me paddocks, farmer doesn't care. Just stay in the goddamn fence and you can do whatever you want. The fence is your money. The fence is your obedience, which is enforced upon you, either directly with the gun to your head of taxation or indirectly with the silent pickpocket of fiat currency inflation and debt.
El salario mínimo en Estados Unidos en 1964 era de 5 monedas hechas con el 90% de plata. Eso costaría $16 hoy, más del doble del salario mínimo hoy en día. El fiat es el dinero que no está respaldado por metales con valor propio, lo cual hace mucho más fácil este negocio de la catafixia.
To follow your conscience, to do what is right, means that you have to oppose being forced to pay for that which is evil. That is what the government is doing, always. It is forcing people to pay for that which they object to. Because if they didn't object to it, it would be called charity, for Christ's sake.
El gobierno no hace dinero y no tendría nada si nosotros no se lo diéramos. Sin gobierno, si realmente quisiéramos servicios sociales, ellos tendrían muchísimo más dinero porque no tendríamos que pagar los puestos burocráticos que se encargaran de la recolección, la contabilidad. Simplemente se lo daríamos directamente a quien fuera que lo necesitara. Caridad. Y si crees que no íbamos a querer hacerlo, eso solamente demuestra que el gobierno nos forza a hacer lo que no queremos.
The government is all about forcing people to act against their conscience. The United Way is a charity. They do not force you to support them. The government forces people to support its activities because it is directly what they do not want to do. And generally, it is because they do not want to do it morally. The government is ethics rape in perpetuity. So when your friends say to you, I want so-and-so to be in power, I want so-and-so to be in power, I'm in favor of the war, I'm in favor of the war to drugs, I'm in favor of government education, I'm in favor of welfare, social security, national debts, you name it. What they are saying to you, to your face, is, if you follow your conscience, if you do what is right, I want you thrown in a cage for years.
Una sociedad sin gobierno sería totalmente diferente. Es muchísimo más fácil ser generoso cuando no te falta para comer. Pero sin limitar potenciales educativos, emocionales y financieros de la gente trabajadora en México, no veo por qué alguien habría necesitarla.
Put down the weapons. Let's reason about this. Put down the weapons. Let's reason about how to solve problems in society, how to fix things, how to get things done so that people don't get caged, so that the unborn don't get sold off and stolen from. So that the solution to problems is not always more guns, more laws, more fucking cages. Let's just reason together and see if we can't find a way to have a society which is not murder-based, which is not cage-based, which is not violence-based. Put down your weapons, everybody, and let's reason about this. That's all you're saying. That's all you're saying. If you're into freedom, if you're into liberty, if you're into compassion, if you're into human communication that does not involve